Hey everyone, welcome back. You ready for another deep dive? Today we're going to be talking about something that's, well, pretty cool. Literally.
Greenhouse cooling systems.
Yeah, greenhouse cooling systems. Now, I know that might not sound like the most exciting topic, but...
Right. Not exactly robots and spaceships.
Exactly. But stick with us because this stuff is actually super important, especially when we're talking about sustainable agriculture and like the future of food and all that.
Absolutely. It's all connected. And, with climate change and the growing demand for food, we need to be smarter about how we grow things.
For sure. So for this deep dive, we took a look at an episode of the Innovating Agriculture podcast called Cooling the Future Greenhouse Cooling Systems with Cooling Pads.
Catchy title.
Right. They were talking with this company, agritech MultiSystem Ltd, and they're doing some really interesting things with technology, specifically using the Internet of Things in their greenhouses.
Yeah, that's the big thing these days, like smart greenhouses.
Exactly. You can basically control your greenhouse from your phone.
Pretty wild.
So I guess before we get too deep into the tech stuff, maybe we should start with the basics. Like, why do greenhouses even need cooling systems in the first place?
Well, think about it. A greenhouse is basically a giant glass box, right? It's designed to trap heat and sunlight, which is great for plants. But if you live in a warm climate,
right,
things can get a little too toasty in there. And when it gets too hot, it can really stress out the plants. They don't grow as well. Their yields go down.
I see.
And you have to use a lot more water to keep them from, basically frying.
Yeah, not ideal, especially if water's already scarce where you are.
Exactly.
Okay, so that makes sense. So how do these cooling systems actually work? What's the magic behind keeping these greenhouses at the perfect temperature?
Well, one of the most common and effective methods is something called evaporative cooling. You've probably experienced this yourself without even realizing it. Think about what happens when you sweat.
Sweat?
Yeah. When sweat evaporates from your skin, it takes heat energy with it, which is why you feel cooler.
Oh, yeah.
It's the same principle with cooling pads.
Cooling pads.
These are basically these big, porous mats that are kept wet. And as warm air from outside is drawn through them, the water evaporates, cooling the air down before it enters the greenhouse.
Pretty clever, huh?
Yeah. It's a simple but effective solution. Low tech, but it works.
So back to AB tech. They're not just hanging up cooling pads, are they?
No. They're taking it a step further. They're integrating these cooling pad systems with all sorts of high-tech stuff.
Like what?
Well, sensors, for one thing. They have sensors all over the greenhouse, monitoring things like temperature, humidity, light levels, even the moisture in the soil.
Wow.
And all this data is collected and sent to the cloud where it can be analyzed.
Okay.
And then the grower can access all this information remotely from their phone or computer.
Oh, I see. So they can adjust the cooling system or the lighting or whatever they need to do all from their phone.
Exactly. They can even set up automatic alerts if something goes out of whack.
That's amazing. So it's kind of like having a smart thermostat for your entire greenhouse.
Exactly.
And what are the benefits of all this? Besides, being able to control everything from your phone.
Well, the main benefit is that it allows for much more precise control over the growing environment. Growers can fine-tune the conditions to optimize plant growth, avoid those damaging temperature spikes, reduce water waste.
And hopefully get bigger yields.
Exactly. And that all leads to greater efficiency and sustainability.
It sounds almost too good to be true.
Yeah.
Are there any downsides or challenges to this kind of tech?
Of course. I mean, no technology is perfect, right? The initial investment for all this stuff can be pretty steep. And you need to have some tech savvy to set it all up and make sense of all the data.
Right.
And, data security is a concern. You don't want someone hacking into your greenhouse and messing with your crops.
I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah, there are definitely things to consider.
It's not just plug and play.
Definitely not.
Okay, so what I find really interesting about AB Tech is that they're not just focusing on greenhouse cooling. They're also doing work with electric vehicles and solar installations.
Yeah, it's all part of their mission to create a more sustainable ecosystem, not just for agriculture, but for everything.
It's like a holistic approach.
Exactly. They see the big picture, and they're working to address all the interconnected pieces.
Which is pretty cool.
It is. I mean, imagine a world where all greenhouses are powered by the sun, electric vehicles transport the produce, and data helps farmers grow more food using less resources.
Yeah, that's the kind of future I want to live in.
It's definitely a vision worth striving for, but it also raises some questions.
Like what?
Well, how do we make this technology accessible to all farmers, not just the big ones?
Right.
And what are the ethical implications of data-driven agriculture? Who owns that data? How is it used?
Those are really important questions.
They are, and they're questions we need to be thinking about now as these technologies become more widespread. Because the future of food is the future of all of us.
Well said. So to wrap things up, it seems like AB Tech is really pushing the boundaries of what's possible in sustainable agriculture.
They are. They're combining simple yet effective solutions like evaporative cooling with cutting-edge tech like IoT and data analytics.
And they're showing that sustainability is not just about one technology, it's about a whole system.
A system that's designed to work in harmony with nature, not against it.
Exactly. You guys are